do truly, truly believe that parents forever change their children's lives when they own their mistakes, apologize, and make it right. It's vulnerable. It takes courage. And ultimately, it really changes everything.
One of the first things I have to do in order to feel it all is to be unconditionally loving to myself, right? And to not judge myself for those feelings, to not let shame take hold, and to just be okay with it.
When you live out your values, virtues are how you show up. So when I live out my values of love and courage, the result are these virtues of community and joy and purpose. Welcome to Courage is Built Here, the podcast. I'm Justine Froelker, licensed professional counselor, author, speaker, and corporate trainer. Here, we bring my Courage is Built Here curriculum to life and community. Each week, I invite a guest to walk one of the 5 courageous pathways with me through authentic, sometimes tough, sometimes hilarious conversations. No performance, no polish, just real people practicing real courage with grit, grace, and a whole lot of love. Hi, friends. Welcome back to the Courage is Built Here podcast. Today, we've got Pathway 1, Feel It All. So we do a lot of talking in this episode about our values because Feel It All begins with your values. They are the foundation. They are your deep roots. What makes you you? What are the things that you do daily, hopefully, to live into your values, to operationalize them into behavior? How do you love people? How do you lead people? How do you spend your time? How do you tolerate things? How do you not tolerate things? What breaks your heart? What gets you excited? These things point you towards your values. And we have a really good conversation in this episode about values versus virtues. And so we start with values when it comes to Feel It All. Obviously, Feel It All, we talk about feelings. How to feel your feelings well. How to feel well. How to name them. Talk about them, cope with them in a healthy way, and move them through your body so that they stop owning you and defining you and writing your story, and so that you stop feeling manipulated and controlled by your emotions because you're constantly getting hooked by your emotions, which means your thinking brain goes offline and you're just reacting all of the time in not great ways. Avoidance, isolation, people-pleasing, caretaking, worrying, catastrophizing, drinking, doom scrolling, working, having no boundaries, the busy badge, living through your kids, all these different ways that we react from our emotions instead of responding to our lives. And so, of course, we talk about feelings and reacting versus responding in this episode. Today's episode is my very, very good friend, Meg Brown. Meg is one of the people that she has really been walking out this work alongside me for a long time. It's been years at this point. She has done the full curriculum with me, I think twice, if not maybe 3 times. It might be 3 times at this point. And so she's really doing it. She was just recently moved into the COO position at Cambridge Air Solutions. They are an incredible company here in St. Louis, Missouri. I highly recommend you check them out. And she offers tour at the end of the episode. And so make sure you go to the Cambridge website. And if you are in town and want to do a tour, I think you can even do it virtually, but it's so good to tour Cambridge. Their culture is incredible. And one of the reasons it's incredible is because of my friend, Meg Brown. She is married and has 4 boys. And I'm just really, really, really grateful for her. We have been through some really challenging courage work when it comes to doing this work with teams. And we've been through some really challenging personal stuff together. And I'm thankful to call her not only a client, she's also my friend. So let's welcome Meg to the podcast. All right. Welcome, Meg, to the Courage is Built Here podcast. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Of course, I'm so happy to. It's always good to be with you. I'm so happy to see your face.
I know. I love it. I'm excited for when these are in person one day.
Yeah.
It's going to be amazing. All right. We're going to start with a question that we always begin with. When you think of courage, most especially through the lens of pathway 1, feel it all, is there a moment or a story that comes up for you that rises up?
Yes, always.
Yeah.
Um, I think about a really recent one. My husband and I have 4 boys, and 3 of them are teenagers, and one is not. He's younger than the others.
Yeah.
And as we raise them, there are times where little simple little things like you miss curfew. I'm not sure where you are. I'm really hooked. And
Mhm.
when I think about, we had a situation recently where that happened, and I got super hooked, super in all my feelings, but not able to identify them. Acting, thinking brain completely not on track,
Yeah.
and just fear driving all the things. And it took me like a night, some sleep, and a really good partner in my husband to help me like talk it through and really get to where like, oh, I actually have to feel these feelings instead of reacting from them. And I had circled back and fixed things with my son because I just acted out of fear and did some things that, not awful things, but things that I really wish I hadn't done. And took responsibility for those, but then mostly just was like, look, I was all in my feelings. I was all in fear, all in really scary stuff that had very little to do with you and more to do with me. And the courage to do that, man, that's uncomfortable. Those feelings, by the time we were processing them in the morning, I was like, I don't like this. I don't want to feel these things. Um, so it's
Yeah.
courageous to do it because,
Yeah.
yeah, it
It's
doesn't feel
the
like
circle
strength
back
all the
is
time.
courageous.
Mm,
It's like that
yeah.
circle back.
Yeah, because I was really, yeah, my son wasn't sure he was ready,
Mm.
which is fair.
Yeah.
And so it took us a couple of tries over the next couple, like the ensuing days,
Yeah.
and eventually we got there. It was funny because when I circled back the last time, he was
Mhm.
like, "Well, yeah, we've already talked about that," and it was like no big deal. It's like I love teenage boys.
I was gonna
Like,
say, that's gotta be
it's
a
like,
teenage boy
what?
thing.
Like, why are you overreacting?
Right.
Okay, I'm just making
He's
sure
like,
we're good.
I
Everything
was over
okay?"
that days ago, mom, like, that was over, like, oh my gosh.
Totally,
The
totally. But you're so right. Like, I was really emotional doing the circle back because I was just
Yeah.
really wanting to be forgiven and really wanting to let him know how I was actually feeling, and that was not easy. Yeah,
No. I do, I
yeah.
think and it's not the first time it's come up on the podcast, like, I I do truly, truly believe that parents forever change their children's lives when they
Right.
own their mistakes, apologize, and make it right. I it just change because there's so many of us, I think, in our generation that our parents didn't do that. Like, it wasn't something that you did. You didn't say sorry to children. And so, it's something that's definitely changing with this generation. And it's vulnerable. It takes courage. And ultimately, like, it really does, well, because it's connection. So it changes everything.
Yeah, I really do hope so. Sometimes that's how I find the courage is I just have to trust that that's true. Like, trust that, I've been practicing a while, so this isn't the first time. It
Yeah.
won't be the last time when I got to do this. Um, and so that helps. That like hope thread kind of pulls it through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and
Mhm.
so you are someone that you've been walking this out with me for,
Yeah.
it's been a long time at this point.
It's been a while. It's been
It's
a
been a
minute.
while.
Yeah.
And so, like, do you think it gets easier?
It's a really good question.
Uh-huh.
I
Yeah.
can remember being in your very first class that I attended, and I can remember writing a Post-it because you had really colorful Post-its, and I
Mhm.
remember writing, "I want to have a stronger bounce." And I'm thinking of that right now, and I would say, and it was in my, like, journal, my thing I was keeping notes in for the next period of time because I just
Yep.
have a thing until the notebook is empty, then I get a new one, or full rather, and I get a new one. And it was in the front cover for a long, long time. Like, I want to have a stronger bounce. I want to have a stronger bounce. And in many ways, I think I do. I think
Mhm.
I would never have turned around and fixed that with my son and felt all the feelings and been like so sad and scared of like his unknown future, I would
Mm,
never have let myself do that nor have turned it around so quickly.
mhm.
I mean, that's been so does it get easier? Maybe, maybe not.
I
But
don't know.
stronger? Can you get better at it? Can you feel stronger in it? Can you feel like I felt a little less despair in the middle? Because sometimes when you're really stuck in it, you can I felt I could trust, like, if I can
Yes.
just feel this and stay here and
Yeah.
not push past it. I'm also my personality, it can be some of the gifts I've been given are like a huge strength. Like, I can have I can be bold and I can be strong. And so for me to be quiet and soft is sometimes feels different. And so I feel like I've gotten a lot better at getting into that. But that is not easy. So it's not easier. Does
Yeah. Yeah.
that make sense? And I
Yeah.
do think my bounce is stronger.
Mhm.
Rare are the hard things or the emotional things that knock me for 6 like they would have, like they used to.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
might knock me for like 2. I don't know where the phrase knock me for 6 comes from.
Yeah.
But anyway, you
Well,
know?
and I like that's I mean, I there is that does it get easier? Maybe. I do I do think we get a little bit better at it. I think I sometimes I'll say, and
Yeah.
I've said this in engagements before, like, I don't get better at it. I'm not better at like courage. I'm more seasoned than you. Like, I've had
Yeah.
more practice. But even like as you were describing it, it's I think, and I haven't really put this into words yet. We turn it around quicker. It's not.
Yes.
It doesn't knock me down for so long. But more than that, though, it's like the circle back happens a lot quicker too, right? Like
Mhm. Mhm.
you just don't sit in stuff so much.
No, or, like, sit in the wrong part of it.
Oh,
Like
ooh, that's
like,
good.
for me, what I would do is stew on all the outside stuff, like, let the trigger take control, maybe another way to think of
Uh-huh.
it, like, let that be, let all those stories I'm making up
Yep.
just ruminate on them and convince myself why they're true.
Uh-huh.
And now I might I do spend time there still, but, like,
Okay.
that is shorter, and I'm able to be like, "I'm really feeling something here," or people who love me, which my husband has been a phenomenal partner in this, like
Yeah.
or you, Justine, I've called you before and been
Yep.
like, "I'm super stuck," and, like, they can help me find my feelings
Yeah.
and feel them,
Mhm.
and that helps because then I'm like, "Oh, these are just feelings. These are" it
Oh,
just sounds
just
so
feelings.
silly, but, like, it's so true. Anyway, so, yeah,
Uh-huh.
I do
Yeah.
think it gets easier in some ways. The act of doing it isn't easy, and
No,
so
never. Yeah.
but
Otherwise, it wouldn't be
yeah,
vulnerable.
exactly, you're risking something
Yeah. Every single time.
every time.
So it's
Yeah,
like it's it gets easier because we have more practice at it. It doesn't necessarily feel easier because we'll come back to, well, courage
no,
isn't comfortable.
that's right. If it was, it's not
Right.
courage. Yeah, it's
It's
not
not courage.
vulnerable, it's not right.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Do you think that, especially like those moments that when you have someone reflecting back to you, those feelings, I is there also an element that we have those people that not only help us maybe find the feeling word or be like or be able to validate feelings, meet us with empathy. It's also that having those people who they reflect your values back to you because they know you so well.
Mm,
They've seen you walk out the work so much.
yeah,
And maybe
yeah.
that I for me, I think that it's also that part that calls me back into, "Okay, got it."
Mhm,
Like, the
mhm.
foundation of values helps.
It does, tremendously. I would say when I think about that, I think about, like, in my work, my team knows my values. They've been with me. All the practice I've been doing has been at this company, and so that team, in many ways, will knowing my values, will call on them, um, for help or whatever that is, or which is a little less, of the example you're talking about where I'm the one that's potentially needing help to get back into my values, but I've
Yeah.
also seen them used in a way where, hey, my 2 values are unconditional love and courage, and What does it look like to actually show up with non-judgmental love here? What does it look like to risk something in doing so, which was the courage side?
Uh-huh.
What does that actually look like? And I've seen those two things really they help me a ton. They really do. And the one of the first things I have to do in order to feel it all is to be unconditionally loving to myself,
Ooh.
right? And to not judge myself for those feelings, to not let shame take hold, and to just be okay with it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That I don't think we think about our values enough in that aspect of meeting ourselves with them first.
Mhm.
Yeah, where it's always kinda like, "Well, this is who I am, this is what I do for other people, this is how I show up." It's also how you show up for you.
Right. And when things are good. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. That's really powerful. There's been I've been doing a little bit of wrestling with the difference between values and virtues. Have
Mm,
you ever
interesting.
wrestled
Tell me
on that?
more. Yeah.
Like, so
Like, in what context? Help me
like
understand what you mean. When you say virtue, what do you mean?
well, and that's what I was like, because doing a class that I signed up for, and like, and he was like, you got to determine what your values and your virtues are in order to, move forward, where you want to go, and what that goal look like. Who do you want to be when you get to that goal? And your values and virtue are different. And I was like, and the way he described it was like your values are more like the behaviors, the virtues are like how you live that way or something like that. And I was like, that doesn't make sense to me, because especially like coming from the courage work, it's like, oh, values, who you are, how you show up for other people in the world. Beliefs sometimes turn into values, but not always. You also sometimes have beliefs that aren't always values, like values. So then I like started kind of just like doing a little bit of digging, and like that when you live out your values, virtues are how you show up. So, like, it was almost like what I settled on is virtues are almost
Mm.
the result of living out the values.
Yeah.
So, like, when I live out my values of love and courage, the result are these virtues of community and joy and
Mm.
purpose, like these really big words. Whereas the values are, and which kind of connects back to, because we talk about in the courage work, like your values have to be more than just words. They got it. What are the behaviors that are backing them up? And
Yeah,
so,
see, that's why I have this heart. I'm not kidding. I found this in Washington, D.C. at the Holocaust Museum.
really,
But I was
okay,
like, "Oh my goodness, that is a heart." My 2 values are unconditional love and courage, and when
it
I draw
already
them
has
as a
courage
heart with
on it.
yes, yes, yes. And so that was wild, and it sits here under my
Yeah,
computer at all times to remind me. I love what you're saying about virtues being like almost the outcome of
yeah,
living a values consistent life. And I think, and when I think about that, I think, well, the virtues that come out most for me are the ones you've listed: joy, purpose, but also forgiveness,
oh
grace, gratitude. I think about, you know, which I want more of those. And
yeah,
those are going to be impossible for me to get if I'm not being
yeah,
true to what I know is important for me and
right,
what I've been made to be. Yeah.
right. It's so I don't, like, I love that conversation. Just like, I don't know. I think the virtue just felt like it almost like it creates the systems around us if we're living into the actual behaviors of the values. And
Hmm.
maybe that means it could
Yeah.
actually change systems, which would be great.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Certainly hoping so. I mean, like,
Right.
here at my work, we're trying to bring it to be one of the companies that's in it to say that business can be a force for good, and that even when you're a manufacturing company, you
Yeah.
can make an impact in the world, and you can help people be really seen and provide opportunity for them to live one whole happy life. And so I would hope that by practicing some of those things, we are making an impact, that it
Right.
does create this more in this context, like virtuous world. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
interesting. That's the hope, right?
Right. Well, and I mean, I once had a leader say, like, even if they're not practicing the courage work with us here at work, I know that we've helped them in their home lives, and, like, that still makes them a better team member here if
Mhm.
they're happier at home, and I think it's that, like, that's systemic change. It might be slow and not in the speed
Completely.
we want, right? But, like, that will still affect the other systems eventually, like, it is that p and so it is, like, I mean, you all, I believe, like, you have changed so much of the systems within what people expect when they think about a
Mhm.
manufacturing company, right? Like, that is not what Cambridge feels like, I don't think. That is, but it's because you all live out your values so well.
Yeah. We're certainly trying, certainly in the active work of practicing them
It
every
doesn't mean
day. Like, do
perfect.
we just it is not. It is not. Nope. But we care about them, we talk about them all the time, they're on the walls. I mean, that's what that is behind me.
Mhm.
Um, they matter to us, and so yeah. I mean, and one our, John Kramer, the CEO here at Cambridge, he says he wants everybody to go home better, mothers, fathers, sons and daughters, sisters, brothers, husbands and wives,
Yeah,
all the key relationships we have in our life, really wanting you to go home, stronger in those relationships.
yeah,
And if we can help you do that, that feels really like good work.
yeah. That's really good work. What does it look like the Cambridge values are spoken and lived out in behavior. What does it look like to really have that the clarity of values of, like, the individual team members within the Cambridge values? How does that show up for you all? And maybe and just for yourself, especially in leadership. Like, so how do your 2 values show up within the Cambridge system per se?
Yeah. So my two values are a direct match with two of Cambridge's,
Okay.
which
Hence why
is so.
you're such a great person for your jobs
So
there.
I don't know that I have a very interesting answer to that, although that might be interesting in and of itself. And I promise Cambridge has predated me being here.
Right.
And like Cambridge had these values in name, but no behavior attached
Correct.
when I got here. So they were just like one sentence.
Yeah.
It said what our values were, and that was it. And
Okay.
then honestly, through meeting you and understanding operation how to operationalize values and how to get to behavior and some other leadership work we did, we were like, oh, we have to be able to actually describe
Yeah.
these.
Yeah.
And so I would say one of the advantages of mine being very much in line with my company's is that if I'm in mine, I know I'm in the company. So that's actually a real
True.
gift, like most of the time. Like very rare are the check-ins where I got to be like, am I good here? Because if I'm in unconditional love and courage for me, then that probably is similar to what Cambridge would expect
Yeah.
of me too. And the behavioral statements we make for those two are uh, similar to how I feel about it.
Okay.
It's like unconditional love is choosing to believe that everybody's doing their best, extending benefit of the doubt.
Mhm.
So I'm blanking on some of the others, but encourage is asking for help. Um, seeking, talking to one another and circling back when you screw up, like some of those kinds of things. Choosing vulnerability,
Mhm.
and those are certainly the way I would describe it for
Yeah.
myself. So that's super helpful.
Uh-huh.
Um, it's interesting because we have had a lot of people go through the training to identify their
Yeah.
behavior or their, values, but they aren't and it's funny you're asking because they aren't pulling them through, meaning I don't hear them talk about them after the training, like, it isn't something that's coming up a lot in the rooms that I'm
Yeah.
in, which is just
Okay.
interesting to think about.
Yeah.
I wonder how much impact it had on them. It certainly does for me.
Yeah.
Um, so that's an interesting thing, like,
Uh-huh.
the fact that you're asking, I'm like, "Oh, what have"
Yeah.
I can't even, like, honestly remember anybody else's off the top of my head who was with me in your
Right.
training, and
Well,
so
and it's like
that's really interesting to me, like,
uh-huh. Well,
I
and
wonder.
it's not the first time I've heard that. I think it like which is it's interesting because, like, the values lesson does tend to be, like, one of the most powerful for individuals, right? A and at the same time, it seems to and then we help, like, okay, we get your org operationalized and all of that stuff. It's the marrying of the 2 that I feel like sometimes feels the most difficult, like, And I think some of it's just like reminding, like, how are we reminding people what one another's values are? Like, are they posted in your office, right? Like, when we have a check-in, do we touch base like, "Hey,
Mhm.
remember my values are these 2 things, and that's how come I, like,
Yes.
do these things and say this thing in this way?" I do think that it helped, well, it especially helps when we've had breakdowns of communication or when we have, um, hurt history, things like that. I think that can definitely help with those conversations. So it is interesting. You're not the first to say that. It's like, it's it's a lesson that people always wanna do over and over and over, even if they get the same values. They love doing that lesson over and over and over. They say it's one of the most life-changing lessons. If they do it for the organization, they say the same thing. It's the marrying of the 2 that seems to be toughest. And so, and I think maybe sometimes it
Yeah.
is that, like, people don't, what do my values look like within my organization's values, whether or not they match?
Mhm.
Because they may look different depending on the situation sometimes.
Yeah, it's interesting because, particularly being a business that has our first value is really a twofer. It's unconditional love with high expectations because
Hmm.
it needs balance. You can't be in the world of business and just say, love everybody. Like, no, we actually do want to achieve things. You
Right.
aren't like, you don't have to hustle for your worth. You are seen to be a person worthy of love the minute you're here. Like, that's what we mean by that. But yes, we are going to go do big things and hard things, and we're going to hold each other to high expectations in order to do that. Feels like they balance each other out.
Mhm.
And what I will say happened when we documented and got these out and rolled them out and have started to practice them is folks, our people really did start to go, you want me to do what? Like, you want me to extend benefit of the doubt, even to that person that I've been upside down and crossways with for months.
Yeah.
And the answer would be, yeah, like
Yeah.
that's actually what we're asking you to do. Do we expect you to somehow learn how to do that overnight? No, but in small ways, can you start to understand, how to see this person through that lens? Can you start to practice some of these things? And we have had most people, and I would say that's maybe them wrestling with how does this line up with who I am and who I want to be in the world,
Yeah.
and trying to figure out, am I willing to risk it? Because it
Yeah.
requires risk. It requires courage to live like that. And so that's been really interesting to watch people come full, and we've got some, some people that have done really good work to come all the way around to like, oh no, this actually is
Yeah.
the better way. This is how I want it to be. And when people find that for themselves, it's the coolest, right?
Yeah.
When you're like, oh, it's the coolest.
I know.
Yeah.
It really is. It really, really is. You said that, like, so when you were talking about how your values decently match up, right? They're 2 of Cambridge's values.
Yeah.
That there's an advantage to that. Is there a disadvantage at times? Especially in leadership, maybe?
Mm.
In a position of
Yeah.
leadership?
Yeah. So earlier I mentioned sometimes my teammates will call on my values, meaning like, Meg's going to use courage. We know she will. She can go first. And so,
Mm.
like,
Mm.
whatever first is, I don't,
Okay.
uh, it can mean that I'm often seen as and thought of the one that will go most vulnerable,
Yeah.
and be courageous more quickly, which makes it sound like a competition. I don't mean it like that, but I do think so. That is sometimes I get, and I've been vocal with my team because I have a really phenomenal leadership team and phenomenal leader. And I will say, it's not I don't want to do this time, guys. I'm tired. Somebody else has
Yeah.
to do it.
Yep.
Or like, because I'm also, like I said earlier, I can have a strong personality and a bold personality. So I can also just be trusted to do it. And sometimes I
You don't
don't
want
want
to.
to be that
Right.
person.
Right.
Sometimes my feel it all is, let me rest. Like, I don't want to have to be the voice in the room that's saying the hard thing all the
Yeah.
time.
Yep.
And one of my advantages is when I can soften. And so courage can sometimes be misunderstood for
Uh-huh.
me, um,
Yeah.
like what it means,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. No, that's a great answer. That's good. That's good. Okay. You ready for your last 2 questions?
Yeah, let's do it. That's fast.
I know. So, when has courage looked different than you expected, and what did it teach you?
Hmm. Interesting. I would say, so many times I would in my career, I have thought courage was being willing to be the tip of the spear, all the way out on the edge of the limb, um, whatever the topic, and um, be bold, go big, kind of those kinds of things,
Yeah.
right? And so it once I started to do this work, and we actually, you and I, brought an entire group of operational leaders into learning some of this material before they were ready. And for me, I thought that was courageous. And it was.
Yeah.
It was. But what it taught me, because of their readiness not being there, was that what the real courage is to be patient and to be quiet and not push. And I would say that lesson is the over and over again, quiet, don't push, and probably means it's time for me to feel something that I'm avoiding feeling.
Yeah.
And so that's what comes to mind. So it teaches me courage is much quieter than the blustery, wow, that person is, she'll take all the risks and she'll just be bold and she'll, yeah, sure, I'll do that. But actually, what's almost more courageous for me is to feel my feelings
Mhm.
and to be soft and quiet.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's
Yeah.
the lesson
Oh,
that just
that's good.
keeps happening
Yeah.
over
That's
and over
so
and
good.
over again.
That's so good. I had I it it dawned on me that, like, because a lot of people use courage and brave as
Yeah.
interchangeable, and for me, brave for me can sometimes mean the bravado, the bold,
Mm.
in your face, like,
Yeah, the actual word. Yeah.
right? Yeah, right? Like, and, like, we'll go first and things like that, and it is, I think, eh, much like for you, courage is actually peace and quiet and maybe contentment and the
Mhm.
pause, probably a deep pause, right? Like, and so I don't, there's something there that I've been wrestling with because, like, everyone loves the word brave, but I was like, oh, what if it's like it is bravado? Because for me, that could be not super courageous and authentic.
Completely. Yeah, for me, it can look like I'm just trying to control, which is actually me
Ugh.
not feeling my feelings.
Ugh.
If I'm actually feeling my feelings, I feel so out of control that it's scary, which is why it requires courage. But it's,
Dang. Yeah.
mhm,
Yeah. That's good. That's good. All right. Your last question.
yes.
What's a time that your courage and your values lined up in a way that shaped your life?
Oof, Justine. Can you say it one more time?
Uh-huh. What's a time that your courage and your values lined up in a way that shaped your life?
I'm thinking of, um, it's funny because I feel like I have a couple of
Mhm.
options in my head, which is a kind of a cool feeling,
Yeah, it is.
right? Like thank you for the question for helping me. Wow, that's cool. Interesting.
Uh-huh.
And I'm thinking, okay, what do I feel like sharing? I think, so I've been clear on my values for probably what, like 4 or 5 years now. I'm asking you because you were there when I
Yeah.
figured them out. You helped me find them. And I've been at Cambridge the whole time. And I was really wrestling and had the opportunity to be considered for the COO seat. And I had been in the HR seat for 8 years, or really 20 plus years. I've been in different varying HR capacities. And Cambridge's values are obviously aligned with mine.
Yep.
But in that discernment, I was finding myself a little bit stuck, like a little bit going, what do I really want? Do I really want something? Do I want to stay here and do this work here where the culture is such a good fit, or do I want to do something somewhere else? What does all that look like? And in the end, with some help thinking through my purpose. I was able to figure out what my purpose is, and my 2 values are in it.
Yeah.
And so once I knew that, I realized it's to humbly surrender and serve as a catalyst for others to know they are loved and be courageous. And if that's my purpose, I literally, like, the second I knew my purpose, I was like, oh, well, I can do that anywhere. Why wouldn't I want this job? And it was just the easiest, like, simplest, like, God just put it in front of me. Well, yeah, okay. And I think I even told my leader at the time, or he's still my leader, Doug, like, yeah, I'm in. And he was like, okay. And I was like, yeah, I,
You're like, "Yeah,
I'm in.
I'll
Like,
I'll be COO." Yeah.
I just,
Right.
it just, I really was, I mean, I was discerning for a while. Like,
Yeah.
he was readier than I was for a long time. And so I would say my values and that letting them anchoring me into my purpose really helped me and, like, has changed my life, because now I'm in a very different seat, and
Yeah.
it's super fun and hard and good. And I get to bring my whole person to it and screw it up sometimes and
Yep.
try to do a good job and see
It's
where
amazing.
it takes us.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Thank you. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for being here. If people want to connect with you, where can they find you?
LinkedIn is easiest. So Meg Brown on LinkedIn. You can also, if you're interested in Cambridge, we have tours we do. So you can go to our website, cambridgeair.com, and look for the tours. We'd be happy to have you anytime if you want to see what our culture's like.
Yeah. I highly recommend going to a tour. It's amazing. Thank you, my friend, and I love
Awesome.
you.
Thank you. I love you too. Thanks, Justine. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Courage is Built Here podcast. Whether you're brand new to this work or living it out loud every day, I hope today was helpful, hopeful, and a reminder that you're not alone. What one bit of courage will you take from this episode, and how will you walk it out? If this episode encouraged you, share it with a friend, leave us a review, and please make sure you like and subscribe. New episodes come out every Wednesday on your favorite podcast platform and Fridays on YouTube. For more resources, head to JustineFroelker.com and click to my store. Because courage isn't a one-time thing, it's built right here, one small choice at a time, and especially between us.